Oh, shout out to Mr. Steelers fan right here, man. This is a good question. He says, did Amari Cooper lose his step, or was he just not feeling it in Buffalo? And what he's talking about is in relation to the lack of production that we saw from Amari Cooper than what we are traditionally accustomed to seeing with him. It was a couple of things, man. Number one, move in terms of a trade in season. That's always going to have a little bit of a negative impact. We know over in Cleveland, it wasn't the most ideal scenario for him, but the production was up and down there. Then he comes to Buffalo, has some success, but as a whole, not what you were expecting to see on paper. What I would say is this: he was injured. He actually had to have wrist surgery this offseason, man. So it was some times where he didn't even play in the games due to the injury, and there were times where he did play, but it was more, you're going to be decoy. Keon Coleman, we're praying that you're going to show up, and Shakir and Khalil Shakir, the slot receiver, was how they would operate, right? But that was more the case. So to me, when I look at Amari, I say a couple of things. Was he creating separation last year? The answer is yes. So I feel optimistic about that. The next thing I say is this: does he still look like he's eager to play or hungry to play? And the answer is yes. Was he a locker room issue at any of his stops? And once again, no locker room issue. So that also is a positive to me when we're talking to Amari Cooper. The other thing that I like is this: he's not going to be expensive at this stage following the down year, along with him being a guy that was hurt last year and playing through it. There are pros and cons to playing through it. When you play through it, your numbers don't look the best, right? We're going to hold it against you. But if you don't play through it, we're going to hold it against you that you didn't play. So you're danged if you do, you're danged if you don't. But as a whole, I think Amari Cooper could be a very nice addition to our wide receiver room, especially knowing that GP is no longer here. I think that would give us a bona fide number two, because yes, you can play Amari as a one. To me at this stage, I think that he would excel as a high-end number two. He could be a wide receiver one. To me at this stage, I kind of think Deontay Johnson. Not the same style, because we know Deontay is more quick, route running and stuff like that, whereas Amari is more down the grass, silky smooth, hitting you with the drags, the digs, the deep comebacks, deep ins and out, stuff like that. But to me, what I think is this, though, man: if I'm putting Amari Cooper out there at this stage and he's opposite of DK Metcalf, yeah, Amari Cooper is going to look like how he looked in Dallas, right? That's what that's going to look like if we have him opposite of that. Versus if you have him in a scenario where in Buffalo, while being hurt, he's also trying to be the number one guy because the wide receiver room was just different up there following Stephon Diggs leaving. Those are the things to me that makes me a lot more optimistic about Amari Cooper. And that's why you keep hearing me reference him even more so than I bring up Gabe Davis, who's younger and off of a bigger contract, right? He just signed a 3 for $39 and Jacksonville got released a year later. To me, Gabe Davis is feast or famine. They call him Big Game Gabe because he's going to show up in the playoffs. You would see him versus the Chiefs. You would see him in some of these gotta-have-it games. He's going off for 200 plus. But then there are games where he is completely quiet, doesn't, have a single catch. And to me, that happened too frequently for me to feel like I would rather have him as a player over Amari Cooper. Whereas to me, when I look at Amari Cooper, just 2 years ago when he was healthy, he was a 1,300 yard receiver. We know how many times he's crossed, that 1,000-yard threshold and being the premier receiver, wide receiver one, not being a guy that's wide receiver two. Gabe Davis had been more wide receiver two opposite of Stephon Diggs. So that's the reason, another reason why for me, Amari Cooper makes a lot more sense and why I'm a little bit more intrigued or interested in him versus Gabe Davis. But for the price, I think you could get both of these guys here. I think for the right price, you can get both of them here, and you could still offset the loss of a GP with those two dudes. But me personally, if Amari Cooper is healthy, I'm rolling with Amari Cooper. I'm bringing him in. I think the veteran presence, I think the calmness of it. I think that he also still has more in the tank than per se Robert Woods at this stage. And I just think that he's also quarterback friendly. Meaning he knows how to create separation. He knows how to sit down versus zone, and he's a sure-handed receiver. These are all the things to me that I think would help our wide receiver room a lot. And that's one of the reasons why you will continue to hear me talk about Amari Cooper following the GP trade until he's either signed or we, bring in somebody else or somebody's else. All right. But like I said, that's kind of how I look at the Amari Cooper element of it. All right. But shout out. All right. Let's see. What else we got going on? All right. And don't forget to hit that like button one time for the culture and subscribe if you are new to the channel.